Good morning. Welcome to the DunnWisdom Morning Show. Happy Tuesday, everyone. My name is Melissa P. Dunn. I am the CEO of MD Marketing Network, the founder of this DunnWisdom movement, and a candidate for Lauderhill City Commission seat number 2. I have a special treat for you today. In fact, we're mixing it up. So normally, as you know, we have an author on Tuesday for our Success Book Club. However, today I am bringing on a thought leader, a community leader, a trendsetter, someone who is an expert in the hospitality space. I know a lot of our viewers are in the tourism and hospitality space or the event space. And so she will be able to shed some light on not only her journey as a professional woman, but also her journey as a leader in the hospitality industry. Ladies and gentlemen, help me to welcome to the show Miss Connie Kinnard. She is the Vice President of Multicultural Marketing for the Miami Conventions and Visitors Bureau. Good morning. How are you, Connie?
Good morning, Melissa. I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me here this morning.
Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to chat with us.
Yes.
All right. It looks like we're already getting a good morning. Hey, Miss Joy. Morning blessings to you too. Thank you for tuning in so faithfully.
Okay. You have your good crowd and followers. And hey, with virtual space, you can replay it. And so it's all good.
Absolutely. And Miss Joy actually is one of the folks that's been watching since day one. She has a group of grandparents that's like 29,000 strong.
Okay, wow.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Hey, Portia. Good morning. Thank you for tuning in. Good morning, Portia. Fantastic. So, Connie, tell our viewers a little bit about yourself. Are you a native of Miami?
I am not. I moved here about 5 years ago now from the Nashville, Tennessee area. So I'm from this town south of Nashville called Franklin, Tennessee. And I worked for the Convention and Visitors Bureau there in Nashville before I came here. So I worked in Nashville at the CVB for 19 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then moved here to Miami in 2015 and just loving it. So yeah, I'm still kind of new, I still get lost in certain places. But I feel at home here.
Oh, fantastic. What made you decide to go into the hospitality space? How did you get into that career path?
It's interesting because I didn't necessarily know that I was in the hospitality space when I was in it. So in college, I went to Tennessee State University. And while I was there, I worked for Hardee's. So I was a assistant manager for this Hardee's.
Wait, stop. Hardee's. I love Hardee's. There's one right down the street from my mom's house in Alabama.
Yeah, see, people don't know. Hardee's is the real deal.
Yes, it is. Their curly fries.
All that. Biscuits. I used to roll out biscuits. I don't know if they still do them by hand now, but back in the day, we made them. And so I did all that. And I was going to college at the same time. But what I realized in working through that and learning in the school that really and truly the restaurant world, of course, is the hospitality industry. Mm-hmm. And that even working at places like Hardee's or McDonald's or any of the fast food places, you can maximize on that. And so, I did. So again, I was assistant manager. I said, okay, I'm going to use this in my resume space. And then, at my last year in college, still working for Hardee's, I saw some openings in hotels. And so that was intriguing. I know that there was a connection. I was in business, not in hospitality and restaurant management. So I was kind of having to put some of this together myself, if you will. Knew there was a connection. So I kind of ventured into the hotel side and started working for Days Inn and a Ramada. As far as hospitality. But then when I look back, it's really from that Hardee's progression through working for those small hotels and then ultimately a bureau that kind of was my path. And what I realized is that whole progression, you were dealing with people and service and that value. And I liked it. And so I've continued to be in this world ever since. And so I have a special place in my heart for those restaurateurs and those young people in there, because that's what I did too. So yeah.
That's such an interesting story, because that kind of sort of was my journey too. I actually I worked at Dairy Queen.
Yes. Okay.
When I was in high school.
Okay.
And a lot of the skills that I have around people and customer service and sales, I learned, and I had a really amazing manager.
Yes.
An amazing manager. So what would you say to young people right now, Connie, who are currently working in that space and really not sure about how that could impact their future career path?
I would say, and some of the tried and true things that we've always heard are still in play today. I would say, even in that space, and you might work with the people and the management, and you think that you may never see these people again in your life. Well, don't think that way, because you really could see them again, and you just never know how the circle of life ties up. So I would say, number one, make sure you build genuine relationships. Don't take anybody for granted, from the person outside spraying the lot to the manager or to the regional director that comes in 2 times a year. Make sure that you always are kind and respectful and all those things that we know to do, because life has a funny way of coming back to you. And so I would just encourage that. The other thing is that if there are opportunities, whether or not, and this could be somebody in the restaurant world, hotel world, wherever you are in hospitality or any business, if there are opportunities that come up for you to lead or take an additional responsibility that you know that you can do, raise your hand, because there are things that separates, say, workers from leaders. And if you want to progress in your leadership, you should show your leadership skills before the position or the opportunity opens, because leaders step up when they see a need. And so I would encourage anybody in that space, and that's for young and old, all of us. If you see something, you have to raise your hand and step up if you want to be noticed. We got to still always set yourself apart.
Oh, that is such powerful advice. A lot of people are, I think, currently in a job where maybe they feel like their skills are not being utilized. That, I think, the advice that you just gave would be perfect for somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. Create solutions to problems. Again, with some of those skills you mentioned, I think we're all kind of, even in this space of COVID and a little downtime here and there, assessing that your personal talents, because in your mind you may have to pivot and use those to make ends meet, if you will. But just think about it now. If you have some of those personal talents that can solve problems, bring them out, let people see them, because it could spin into something else for you. In addition to your job, it could spin off into an entrepreneurial situation for you. Who knows? So don't hide your talents.
I love it. Don't hide your talents. That's a tweetable quote right there. Don't hide your talents.
Yeah, look.
I love it.
We might have to bring out the word on that
one. Listen, on this show, it's always welcome to bring out the word. For sure. So, Connie, what's been really the secret to your success?
Oh, wow. You mentioned the word. Always thankful to God for providing for us and providing for me and covering me and all of those good things that the Lord does daily. I think that I was fortunate to have great parents and great examples to see from my parents. My mom was a school teacher for over 30, almost 40 years. My dad, I look at him as kind of what you would say, that hustler. He was the guy that had rental properties. He had us cleaning houses. We always had gigs, right?
Yes.
So he had these rental properties and go collect rent. Then after school, we might go to these houses that were not ready to be sold but built. And if you've ever been there, they're very dirty. So we had this little gig. We would go in and clean the house to get the house ready to be sold. He might collect Coke bottles, wood pallets, and go turn them in to make money. So I think I have this little balance of this school teacher mom who's, you know how school teachers are, they have their way, and then you had this dad that is kind of like life hustler. So I think a combination of both of those helped in my success, because I have a little bit of both in me.
Yes. Well, you kind of sort of have to for the work that you do at the CVB.
Yes.
Because multicultural marketing and kind of the division and the niche that you've carved out for yourself, you kind of had to have an entrepreneurial spirit to be able to do that.
Absolutely. When I came here, part of the charge was to help connect the dots to the community in tourism. Areas that really, in many ways, sometimes are overlooked when it comes to the tourism connection and diversity and the economics and making sure that everybody is at the table. And it's not always cookie cutter in how to do that. It does take a little thinking outside of the box, collective effort, of course, getting ideas from everyone, and then trying to figure out how to make that into a program that really is helpful for businesses and helpful to accomplish some of the goals that we need to. So you're right. It does help to have that entrepreneurial side in you in putting together basic programs in a what people would consider a corporate job or that kind of job. You still got to have that ability to mesh up and mix up and mash up things.
So could you talk to us a little bit about your work at the CVB?
Sure. So our job at the Convention and Visitors Bureau and CVB's basically everywhere is about marketing the destination. We're marketing in tourism operation. We're the marketing agency, if you will, for the county, Miami-Dade, all of Miami-Dade. Particularly my department, our Multicultural Tourism and Development, is about connecting the dots to our neighborhoods, our small businesses, minority-owned, Black-owned, women-owned, heritage neighborhoods of color, if you will, to make sure that they are connected to tourism in the best way possible. So that ultimately is what we're doing, as well as helping to market Miami as the diverse destination that it is nationally. As a bureau, and we're not the only ones in Miami-Dade that is responsible for the imagery of Miami-Dade. However, we are a key player, a very key player in that. And so while traditionally, I think that we have tried to, and this is, I even say before my time, we've infused, quote, the diversity of Miami and the inclusiveness. I think now more than ever before, we are trying to make sure that we include all areas and we highlight and elevate businesses and all those things, because they really, truly are what makes Miami-Dade unique in the other experiences, in addition to the great water and weather that we have, which is a great thing, by the way. I know that we talk about the water and the weather, and that's the only way that people see Miami. Well, we don't want that to be the case, but we don't want to lose that either. We want to infuse all of that to make sure we're selling as completely and correctly as possible.
Correct. I love this idea of cultural tourism and kind of connecting the multitude of cultures that's in Miami-Dade County and South Florida in general, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's an important thing. Could you talk to us about some of the work that you've been doing around Art Basel and making sure that there's a multicultural component involved in that?
Absolutely. So I guess everybody knows now, because this kind of affects the region, if you will, Art Basel, that typically comes in during December, won't be here this year, of course, with the pandemic and everything, and international travel too is a big piece that affects us all, because if international travel is down or questionable, then it affects Miami-Dade, it affects Lauderhill, it affects all of this region. So they will be back next year, hopefully. But the art goes on in Miami-Dade because 365, there's so much diversity and uniqueness all over. And so some of the things that we're doing as far as is art is we lead and organize a program called Art of Black Miami. And it is to help elevate, promote some of the art and artisans within Miami-Dade that are connected to the Black diaspora. And so we try to showcase those. Of course, we go hard during this, what we call our Arts Heritage Month season, if you will, which is December and January, because Basel typically would be here and it brings 70,000 people plus. And so, you know, you got to maximize when you have that infusion of people, domestic and international people. We definitely go hard on that. But you know what? We have art the whole year long. And so if you see on our website and you see in our literature, we talk about Art of Black Miami throughout the year because we want people coming here at any point in time. They could be coming for a convention, vacation, reunion, here prior to a cruise or a post-cruise cruise. When cruises come back, you know, that's a big market for us as well.
Yeah.
They may want to purchase some art while they're here. And just think about it. What if they didn't get to the Caribbean, some of those Caribbean places, and they wanted some culture? They wanted some Haitian art, some true Haitian art. Or wanted some artists. They can get all of that in Miami.
For sure.
And so our goal with really our arts and cultural push overall for the Bureau is stronger than ever. But particularly you ask, and you're probably familiar with our program that's called Art of Black Miami, which really is a deeper dive into trying to elevate some of those businesses. And we call them businesses. Artists, they're artists, but they're also businesses.
Absolutely.
They should and want to make money, and they do. They're not all just museums, and museums are good, of course, as well. But sometimes when you go see this art, you know, let's think about buying it. And so that's what we're trying to encourage our visitors to think about doing as well.
Fantastic. So, you know, it's kind of like the elephant in the room, this pandemic, right? It has had a very catastrophic, that word, it's had a really severe impact on a lot of industries in general, but I think the hospitality industry in particular. What have you noticed in the last couple of months leading up to the pandemic, since we've been in the pandemic, and then what do you see for the future?
Yeah. So, you know, of course, during the pandemic, and it's almost like the summer. I mean, you can almost say your early spring, summer that we've gone through all of this. And I tell you, we have seen businesses affected. So I'll kind of give different areas of small businesses we know have been affected because this area is so heavily driven by tourism that the small business can't help but to be affected wherever they are. So we have seen that, and we have pivoted some of the things that we do as a bureau and really stepped up what we call our business connect. We have this area called tourism business enhancement, which is under the multicultural department, which helps to in our build capacity, programming and things that we've done throughout the year. We did that before COVID hit. But during this time frame, we even went harder with programming and trying to make sure we share resources in the hospitality world and the business world to just help the businesses any way we can. We've partnered with organizations from the Beacon Council and work with the chambers, Miami-Dade Chamber, and all those things to just help the businesses. From a hotel standpoint, as we know, most of the hotels, of course, were closed throughout the summer. And so, except for those initially that were open for essential workers. Well, a good bit of the tax revenue that we get from tourism is what helps the economy flow here. It is what's part of our budget at the Convention Bureau. And so when all of that is affected, we're all affected. And so, you know, it wasn't pretty, but we are optimistic and we are seeing a trickle up. Things, you know, of course, we know are starting to open. And I think between businesses, hotels, all of these entities that are related. Everybody's trying to figure out the best way to open, be safe, but also from an economic standpoint, how can you hit that balance that you need to make a profit? And it is, and the businesses I know have had to be creative, because you think about it, you know, you could open 100% before COVID, but then now you have to kind of look at that. You got to space your tables, which means less people. You got to go outside. And so even with all that, there is optimism. We're trending back up. We have to be realistic and optimistically cautious, though, moving ahead into this next quarter, into 21, because, you know, if we get another spike and we get things like that, while we may not shut down like we did the first time, there still is a thing of consumer trust, and the consumers want and need to travel. If the consumer doesn't feel safe and comfortable, we can do all the things we need to, but we need them to come. And so we're just honestly at the Bureau trying to do all kinds of things, like promoting and having our campaign, which is called Miami Shines. And we maybe talk a little bit about that to help bring the business back, you know? So we're optimistic. We see that really into 2021 is going to be the time before we really start to see that comeback. And you know, different people are predicting different things, mid 2021 to late 2021. You know, we'll see. I think we just have to. We're just in it, and we just got to keep pushing, because I don't think anybody really knows where this is going to land.
Right. A lot of the folks that I know that lives on an airplane, that they love to travel, they've said that they're doing a lot more staycations.
Yes.
And they're also doing a lot more road trips.
Yes.
In fact, I have a very, very good friend of mine who used to live in Miami and has since moved to Utah. Okay. She did a 2-week road trip where she went to several different states, visited national parks, and it was just her and her dog. And she was like, listen, for those of you who I would normally stop by, I'm not going to stop by and see you this time.
Right.
But she had a good time, and she traveled with her dog, and she spent money in different destinations across like maybe 5 or 6 states. Yeah. And she was on the road for 2 weeks, and she had a great time.
Yeah. You know what? In part of our pivoting and our marketing, you mentioned the drive market. We are actually under our Miami Lands campaign, which has several things. Our Temptations program, Miami Spa, Miami Spice, live and work remotely from our hotels is a program that if you want to go work a day at the hotels, you could.
I didn't know about that. Live and work remotely. Tell me about that. I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's a program that we have. If you go on our website, miamiandbeaches.com, it's a program that the hotels have, several participating hotels. If you wanted to, like, we're all at home working, wanted to just work at a hotel one day, kind of something, just change up the environment. They have packages for you to be able to do that. Now it costs, but if you want to change up your scenery, they have it for people, locals like us, to just go. And so if you go online, hotels have offered different things, but some may be by the pool, but they have it set up where you can work. You can actually work if you wanted to do that.
Wow.
So we're coming up with various things, to your point, to just get people excited about travel, staycations. And one of those things is we are promoting more and more to what we call the drive market under our kind of broader marketing campaign as well. Because I think the airlines, honestly, I know this sounds, we might not think, but they've done a lot in the safety as far as the air filtration on planes. And I think we have to overcome just being in what we consider crowds, getting to the airport and going through that.
Right.
But in driving, though, you can control your own narrative. I think people feel that. And so it is one of the areas, and typically for this area, it's not our biggest point for marketing. we always market to the dry market, but Miami is a big fly market. It's not a big, what you would say, a drive market. But now, to your point, you may live in Georgia and want to drive on down, or you may live in the Carolinas. My friends from Tennessee have been here about 5 times and they've driven every time.
There you go.
So it just kind of depends on you, but that drive market piece is a big piece now, and I think it'll be bigger more and more with everything that's going on.
You know what? You just kind of made me kind of clicked a button for me there too, Connie, because I just realized that for cities like Lauderhill, who may not have the type of assets that Miami have in terms of the beach or the the large hotel, we do have several other assets. And so perhaps now is the time for us to continue to talk about Miami, talk about Lauderhill, and perhaps continue to warm up the market and keep the communications going, so that when we are open back the Lauderhill Performing Arts Center, that people are still used to us talking and communicating and encouraging them to stay connected with us.
Absolutely. You know what we did is we kind of tiptoed through the summer, if you will, because safety first and health first.
Absolutely, 100%.
Right. And so we pulled back some of our marketing because, as you know, our area was one of the biggest areas nationally that people were seeing. So we really monitored how we rolled out certain marketing. But when we saw the change starting to happen, we did push out what's called our Miami Shines program, and just we're very, respectful on how we promote that. But you do have to keep yourself in mind, in people's minds, so that when the time comes for them to come back, to your point, it's not totally lost. We did a campaign that was basically, it said, when it's time, keep us in mind. It was a very soft,
simple, but yeah,
we knew it wasn't time to kind of go hard on, hey, come to the beach, that whole thing. But we did one kind of a campaign and a video that was real soft, and that we sent out to our customers in the promo that we did. So to your point, yes, even now, if things are kind of just
drip a little bit of stuff.
Yeah.
So we've covered this has been a pretty good conversation, Connie. What words of wisdom do you have for perhaps a viewer who is looking to climb the corporate ladder and achieve their own success?
Okay. I would say, we all say this to yourself, be true. One of my things is I can't be everything to everybody, be true to God and myself, and everything else will work out. And I still believe that. I've always thought that, because if you are not true to yourself, if you will, as you matriculate, you will find yourself totally off balance. So you have to set up for yourself some benchmarks for, I guess it would be kind of your do's and don'ts, or your morals, and kind of stay in line with those to be consistent. And it's personal, but it's also business, because you will find yourself from a business standpoint in areas that if you have to make a decision, you have to say to yourself, what are your values? What are those things that are not good for you? So that's one. I think the other thing is that you've got to be willing to do the work. Nothing we know comes easy. Even if you know the right people and the right people know you, which we know that's the part of networking that we need. Once you get in this space, you got to be able to do the job, or do whatever that you have been fortunate enough to be connected to. And so it's do the work. Don't take that for granted. When you get those blessings, do the work. And if you don't know how to do it, because this is a blessing, figure out how to learn how to do it on the side. So don't ever take anything that you have for granted. Just keep pushing yourself to do it better and better. And I think maybe the last thing is, and I think we've all learned this from the pandemic and COVID, our mind and our mental space is very important. I think that we were all taught to work hard, and I think we should. So I think that's a given. But we have to learn how to work hard, but yet take care of ourselves and pour into ourselves and make sure that we're connected with our family and our friends in the best way that we can be. Because at the end of the day, we see how something like a COVID can come and kind of take us back down to the basics. And so I think we got to know what the basics are, because in this world, if things change on us, we can still push and persevere. You know, we're not so thrown off that we don't know how to function, because honestly, we never left the basics. The basics were a part of us. And so I would say that's probably maybe the three things, the three areas that I would say are very important. And, you know, looking back, there are some of those things that I wish I had done more of or done better. But, you know, as you learn better, you do better. You can't dwell in that. You just, when you learn it, then from that point, you shift and act accordingly.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Connie. I appreciate your words of wisdom with us today.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this special Tuesday episode of the DunnWisdom Morning Show. We'll be back here tomorrow morning, bright and early, 9 a.m., and I'll be introducing you to a new author. Remember, be kind and loving to yourself, because you absolutely deserve it. Be well.